Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to talk about Slave to Sensation by Nalini Singh. This is the first book in the Psy-Changeling series. If you watch my most recent Books Beside My Bed video, you will know that I am planning on reading or rereading the entire series, which is currently up to book 19, and I'm planning on filming videos for each book in the series. I'm even taking notes, guys, so this could get interesting. So the Psy-Changeling series is an urban fantasy / paranormal romance book series, and I think it straddles the line between the two of them because each book has a central romance that guides the story. However, there is a really strong overarching plot thread that runs through the entire book series as well. There are two main series or seasons so far of the series. The first season is the Psy-Changeling series, and then when we hit Silver Silence, which is a little bit further down the track, we hit season 2, which is the Psy-Changeling Trinity series, and there's a reason why there's a sort of clear split between the two series. You still have all the same characters, same world. It's just a different time in that world, and some very particular events have taken place. So when we come to that, I'll explain it. In the Psy-Changeling world, you have 3 races of people. You have the humans, you have the Psy, who are humans with psychic abilities, and you have the changelings, who are animal shifters. We spend a lot of time in the first couple of books really unpacking what the Psy are. I think the changelings are a little bit easier to understand. They are people who can shift into animal form. They are strongly connected with their animals. They live in family groups, and they're very loyal to their family group or their pack. And we meet a lot of different packs throughout the story, although the first couple of books really focus quite heavily on the Dark River Leopard Pack and the Snow Dancer Pack, and these guys all live in sort of the San Francisco, California area. So with the Psy, there's a whole lot of backstory, and I'm probably going to forget something, but essentially all of the Psy are connected by something called the Psynet, which is sort of like a mental internet that gives them biofeedback that helps them to survive. They all need connection to this because their powers are all mental. They require sort of this energy to sustain them. And that's been part of their race for the entire time. In the late 1960s and late 1970s, the Psy began to realize that there was a high percentage of violence among their people and a high number of serial killers and violent crime. So they decided to institute something called silence, which was a reprogramming sort of situation where they basically trained emotions out of their people, because if they were silent, then they would not have violent crime, they would not have murderers, and they would also be sort of these ultimate humans because they could make decisions very logically. Now obviously I'm going to go into spoilers as I talk about the book series, but the idea of silence and the idea of the Psynet are really important throughout the entire series because things happen to both of them that have a massive impact later on down the track. Just know that all of the Psy are connected. They need to be connected to each other in order to survive, and they train their children from a very young age in silence, and it's actually quite a terrifying thought. So in my little notebook at the back of the book, I have all of my notes on the particular stories, and at the front I am keeping track of all the Psy powers that we encounter throughout the series because there's a lot and I lose track really easily. Who all the major Psy players are, who all the major Changeling packs are, as well as who are members of the Changeling packs. So if I forget to mention something and you have a question, you can ask me down below. But yes, spoilers will abound. I don't know if anyone's going to watch this series, but I'm going to have a lot of fun filming it because it means I get to reread the books. In Slave to Sensation, we have one major couple, and that is Sasha Duncan, who is a Cardinal Psy, and also Lucas Hunter, who is the Alpha of the Dark River Leopard Pack. The story opens with Sasha and her mother, who is a member of the Psy Council, who rule the Psy. They are discussing a business venture that the Duncan family is entering into with the Dark River Leopard Pack. And they are planning on building changeling housing, and there are times when the Psy and the changelings do work really well together, particularly when both are going to profit from the arrangement, and this is one of those situations. What Sasha doesn't realize at the time is she's going to be approached by another member of the council later on to become a double agent and get information on the changeling packs. She also doesn't know that Lucas and the Dark River Sentinels are only entering into this business venture with the Duncans because changeling women have been kidnapped and killed by a member of the Psy race, and they really want information and they want to try and find out what she knows so that they can stop this from happening and bring the murderer to justice. So that's the basic premise of the story. However, what we discover along the way is that Sasha is a very different kind of Psy. She is a cardinal, which means that On a sliding scale of 1 to 10, the Psy rate all of their abilities. And if you are a 10 or above, then you are considered a cardinal. This manifests as what they call sort of starry eyes. So her eyes are completely black with pinpricks of white light, so they look like a starry sky. And typically that means they are the strongest of the Psy. Their abilities are sort of unparalleled. However, Sasha is a cardinal, but she has no active Psy power. She has some telepathic ability, but she doesn't have anything significant that would be recognized as a cardinal power, and no one really knows why. Not only that, she also feels out of place among the Psy, and she feels like she's cracking under silence. And when that happens, the Psy police their own. They pretty much either neutralize that person or they wipe them, and they just sort of become menial workers within the race. And so she knows this, and so she spends a lot of time trying to hide the fact that she's not like other Psy, and that she reacts differently to things compared to the way that they would. They're quite cold and analytical, but she can be surprised and she can feel some emotions, although she knows that that is a really bad thing in her world. So when she meets the Dark River pack and Lucas, she has to hide all of this. But Lucas begins to recognize that she reacts differently to all of the Psy that he's ever met before, and he's quite eager to try and push her buttons and see what's going on. He's immediately attracted to her, but the entire point of their arrangement is to get information out of her. And so that's how their relationship starts. We meet a lot of the Dark River pack, including Lucas's sentinels, so his lieutenants, who spend a lot of time working to protect the pack, but also work for Lucas's business. So you have Dorian, you have Mercy, you have Nate, and you have Vaughn, and I might be missing someone, but those are the major players in this particular book. And we discover that the reason that the Dark River pack got wind of these serial killing murders was because Dorian's sister was kidnapped 6 months earlier and killed, and he's very, very angry about that. And so the Dark River pack decided to investigate, and they uncovered the fact that it was a serial killer preying on changeling women. And then later on in the story, we also discover that their sort of neighboring pack, the Snow Dancer Wolves, have also had a young woman from their pack taken, Brenna, and that becomes really important later on in the series. And so the two packs begin to work together. While Sasha is discovering that her cardinal power is actually an empathic power, so something based on emotions, and that's why no one recognizes it, because the Psy have basically outlawed and eradicated E-Psys from their population because they threaten silence. We also discover that the Snow Dancers have a family group of Psy who have dropped out of the Psy net, which was previously thought to be unthinkable. Like, people believe that the Psy would actually die without connection to the Psy net, yet this entire family, the Lauren family, have done it, and they are hiding amongst the Snow Dancers. The Lauren family consists of Walker Lauren, his brother Judd, Walker's daughter Marley, and then Walker and Judd's niece and nephew Sienna and Toby. And Sienna and Toby are both cardinal Psy. So they all play a massive part in the series moving forward from this point. In order to track down this serial killer, Sasha decides to work with the Dark River Leopard pack as well as the Snow Dancer pack and set a trap for this Psy on the Psy net, and Judd and Sienna also play a part in terms of being a distraction. So you have the beginnings of this world where all of these characters work together and play a integral part in each other's lives. The flow-on effect from setting this trap requires Sasha to drop out of the Psy net, which is potentially problematic because she doesn't have a Psy family group that she can drop into to sustain her psychic abilities. And by this point, Sasha and Lucas have realized that they are mates, and because this is, a fated mates trope, which I love. So we've discovered that they're mates, and Lucas says, well, no, you can drop out and you can connect to me. And she's terrified because she thinks that the mental load of carrying her psychic network is going to kill him. So she springs this trap on the Psy net, fully intending and fully believing that she's going to die at the end of it. And she's happy with that because she thinks she's finally found her purpose and something that she can do that's productive. And of course, when she eventually drops out of the Psy net and is forced to connect to the Changeling Pact, she discovers that, the Changeling Pact have their own sort of psychic network that can sustain them. It's not the same as the Psy net, but it feeds it the same sort of way as the Psy net. So we discover that there are all these connections in this world, and it really is about family and trust and loyalty. So that's the basic premise of the story. What I can say about this book is this book does a lot of the heavy world building, so I don't think it's as strong as the other books. I'm also not the biggest Sasha Lucas fan. I mean, they spend a lot of time in the series, but they're not my favorite couple to spend time with. I think they're great characters and I really enjoy them and I like the dynamic that they have, but there are other characters that I prefer more. I think this book does a lot in terms of acknowledging the fact that all of the men in the series are, it's an urban fantasy series, so you have quite a few very dominant alpha characters and occasionally they're problematic. And I think there's one character that we meet, Tamsin, who is the Dark River healer, and she's a fantastic character. I love any time she pops up in the story. She makes a really good comment about how domineering and possessive the men can appear and how the women just sort of let them believe that, because the women actually hold a lot of power within the changeling packs, and regardless of what their sort of rank within the pack is, all of them hold a lot of power. The men feel like they have to protect them, but it doesn't mean that the women are actually helpless. It's just the way that the men behave. So if that's something that you're concerned about, I think there are times when it's addressed and you begin to see sort of where all of the pieces fit. As I said, there's a lot of world building, there's a lot of character introductions. There is a lot of, you need to accept things off the bat and then things get explained as you go along. So if you can handle that, it's a really good book. It is a series that you do need to read in order. So you do need to start at the first book, I think, in order to understand, because there is an overarching plot that gets set into motion in this book, and little parts of it are revealed in each book that is separate to the romantic relationship and whatever the monster of the week, plot of the week for each book is. So that is something to keep in mind. The next book in the series is Visions of Heat, and I don't know if I'm going to read it in physical book or ebook form yet. I don't actually have the physical book yet. So we'll just see if I purchase the book before I read it again. But yes, I hope that you've enjoyed this. Let me know if you have read the Psy-Changeling series. I'd love to have a conversation with you in the comments about it. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy and enjoying what you're reading. That's the most important thing. And I will talk to you guys very soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.